On Monday, July 23, 2018, East Tennessee PBS, in partnership with the George Clem Multicultural Alliance, hosted a conversation with members of Greene County's Black community. They shared their reflections of the 8th of August Emancipation Celebrations that originated locally. Moderated by Miss Angela Campbell, each participant shared personal insights about celebrating the 8th of August, how these events have changed over the decades, as well as their hopes for future generations. These are their voices.
Hello, and welcome to East Tennessee Voices, Greeneville's 8th of August celebrations. My name is Angela Campbell, and I am Program Director of the nonprofit 501c3 entitled George Clem Multicultural Alliance, located here in Greeneville, Tennessee. I am delighted and extremely honored to have the opportunity to join today in a conversation with several of our distinguished and revered citizens of Greeneville. What I want to do first to get started is to have them introduce themselves, starting from my left, and tell us their full name, their age, of which I think is something to be extremely proud of, and where they're from. And after we get started with that, we'll have a series of questions that we want to ask as it relates to their recollections and memories of past 8th of August celebrations here in our small town. So if we can get started with the person to my left, please.
I am Joanne Gudger, Joanne Dabbs Gudger. I was born at Greene County College Farm. They told me that it used to be a college behind the house where I live, but I never knew of it. And I am 83, will be 84 July the 30th. And I still live in Greeneville.
Miss Sylvia.
Okay. My name is Sylvia Ann Bowers. I was born and raised here in Greeneville. And let's see, what else was it? I am 92 years old, but my recollection of 8th of August does go way back.
I am Annie Connor Hampleton. I live in Greeneville, Tennessee. I moved away to Pulaski, Virginia for a little while. Then I moved back to Greeneville to stay because this was the home of my grandparents, and I live in the house that they bought. I still live there and was born in one of the rooms, and it is my bedroom today. I am 42 years old, and I thank God for that.
No, you're
and the doctor.
42.
I mean 92, I'm sorry. 92
That's
years
all right.
old. I'm proud of that. Been a member of Jones Memorial AME Zion Church all my life.
Okay, I'm Walter Gene Maddox. I'm 74 years old. I moved to Greeneville when I was 2 years old. Went to school here, moved away for a couple of periods, but I'm back in Greeneville because I love Greeneville, I love the community.
My name is Richard Elder Jr., AKA, people known in Greeneville as me, Brother. I'm 79 years old. I was born and raised here. I lived all over the world for the last 45 years. And I'm proud to claim Greeneville as my home. It's something to be wonderful and proud of.
I thank you for those introductions. And again, I'm going to ask this question of each one of you so that you'll have an opportunity to share your memories of 8th of August here. First question, what is one word that comes to your mind when you think about the 8th of August? Miss Joanne.
Having a good time.
That'll work.
Picnic and everything. And ending up with a dance. And I just loved it.
How about you, Miss Sylvia?
She took the words out of my mouth. It was a good time because I was a young girl and I didn't know what it was all about, what the significance of the celebration, But I sure was glad because there was picnics and dancing and a whole lot of stuff going on at that time.
Miss Annie?
When I heard of it first, it was the emancipation of the town. And we celebrated with happiness and joy that a breakthrough had come to Greeneville for the blacks.
Mr. G?
I moved here when I was 2 years old, and we heard about this celebration called the 8th of August, and we went, well, what's that? And it was just when the slaves were freed, what we initially heard. But it was a good time. Being a very young person, I looked forward to the good times, the food, the dancing, and the music. And so it was just something we looked forward to as a celebration.
Thank you.
One
And Mr.
word,
Richard?
fun.
Fun. That's a good word, and I think that still describes it for today. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, the next question. When and where exactly did the 8th of August celebration occur back in the day? In other words, how long and over how many days did it occur? Where did it take place? Just any remembrances that you can think of that have to do with the 8th of August of the past as it relates to place, time, and when and how long.
I don't really recall when it really started because I was young and lived on the college farm, and they would come on 8th of August, have a big picnic, homemade ice cream, and cakes and everything. It was a big spring that people would sit at and just celebrate it. And like I said, on that night, there was a dance at the warehouse, and we were just thrilled to get to go because we were country. But we had a lot of people come from the town, city, to the country to help us celebrate.
Okay. Miss Sylvia.
I really don't remember the year or even next to the year of how or when it started, but I was a very young girl when I first remember getting to go to the ball games because the ballpark was over there where the Greeneville High School is today. And well, I thought to walk from where I lived over there, that was a long ways. I was walking way out of town then, back then, but to get to go to the ball games, and there was a man by the name of Mr. Sarden. He came here from somewhere else. I think it was Georgia, I'm not sure. But anyway, he sort. I don't know that he brought it here or not, but I remember him being in charge of barbecuing a hog at night, and these men dig these pits and stay up all night long barbecuing that pig or hog, whichever one. And the next day they'd sell it at the ball game. But the big event that I enjoyed as even just a young girl, I guess I must have been about 12 or 13 years old, and Mama let me go to the dance. That was a big event. And when it was over at 12 o'clock, we danced all the way back up the street to where we lived. I mean, having a good time. So it meant having a good time,
Right.
as far as I was concerned. But later years, of course, I learned the meaning of the celebration. And of course, in 1950, when the Negro Women's Civic Club was organized, this club did do a lot of things to help this community, not just for the black people, but for all people here in Greeneville. I mean to tell you, the Negro Women's Civic Club at one time was a wonderful organization and had well-gifted women who knew what to do and how to do. And when you didn't know what to do, somebody else would help you. And they helped to bring the celebrations. We had parades. We would be in the Christmas parades, and it really brought the races of people together, along with the Negro Women's Civic Club and the celebrations that we had during the 8th of August. All of that helped to bring about a good relationship among the races here in Greeneville.
Thank you. Ms. Annie, what were some of your recollections of where the celebrations took place? Like the warehouse, maybe. I've heard of the warehouse, or how long it lasted.
That's what I would be thinking about, the big days. In Bernard Warehouse, which was on Main Street. It is not there no more. I think they have turned it into, well, I go by now, I see them selling vegetables and things. And I know that, so I'd start in June. I'm gonna buy my dress and shoes, go to the dance. Because at that time, you could not get your clothes out of the store on time and pay for it. So you had to have it paid for, and you lay it away. And it might have been laid away so long, you done forgot what you bought. But you took it and you wore it anyhow, because you wanted to learn them new dances, the hip hop and whatever anybody else was doing. That's what you got out there and done. And I was rejoicing. And take my little 50 cent from little job I had to pay every week on my shoes and my dress. So I was getting myself ready to go to big times. And like they said, there was picnics everywhere. Davis Street, they would be selling then at each church. Some club or maybe the whole church would go into it to place money in their treasures. Not only the churches on Davis Street, all over. There would be some organization out of some church would put up a booth, and they all wasn't the same. You'd have some doing fish, you'd have some doing chicken, some doing hot dogs and hamburgers. And there was faithful people who worked to make a success, and we worked together, not apart, black and white.
That's awesome. Mr. Jean.
As I said, I came here when I was 2, and people were pretty much celebrating the 8th of August celebration. Of course, I looked forward as I grew up. It was a dance, and being young and just looked forward to a party. As to how far it goes back, coming up August, we will celebrate the 156th celebration of the 8th of August. Now, the actual celebrations, I don't know. The first one that we researched and found was from an article in a Knoxville paper back in 1871. Then, in the later years, when I grew up here in Greeneville, there were several organizations that would take on the responsibility of putting on a celebration, and not the least of which is the Negro Women's Civic Club. I think they did most. But there is just a lot of memories and history.
And of course now, most currently, I think it's pretty much being supported and sponsored by the George Clem Multicultural Alliance. So you're right, there's been several different organizations.
Organization that's taken on the responsibility of doing it.
Of which you were chairperson, by the way.
Well, yes, I am.
Much appreciated.
Might I add, the first venue that I remember for the 8th of August was, I think you mentioned, Bernard's number 2 warehouse with his own Main Street and adjacent to the Andrew Johnson home. And that was celebrated many, many times there, but there were other occasions where other warehouses were used, simply because that was the only venue that was accessible to African Americans to have a big event such as that.
That's very interesting, and I was not aware of that personally, so thank you. Mr. Richard.
Wow.
Wow.
I can recall the early 50s at Legion Field used to have ball games, baseball games. The black players from Greeneville would play various teams from all around the county, all around the eastern Tennessee, I put it that way. I can also recall the early days of the dances at the warehouse down on Knoxville Highway.
Oh, okay.
And the two groups I can vaguely remember. One was the Drifters, was there. Peaches and Herb was there, and I enjoyed every bit of it. And it's just a good celebration where families got together and they enjoyed each other as camaraderie with each other.
Exactly. Okay, here we go. What was Greeneville, Tennessee like during the era of segregation and the Jim Crow laws in relation to race relations in general, and also as it related in specific to the annual 8th of August celebration? In other words, were there any issues that arose during that time? How was the interaction amongst the different races during the 8th of August celebration?
It was good.
It was good.
It was good.
Because
That was our day. They let us have the town.
Yeah.
We could have it that day.
You could have it that day.
You could have it that day.
have it that
And
day.
go-
But
You
it
could
was
have
good.
it for race,
But really,
but it's
it was good most of the time here in Greeneville.
It was.
The race relations. Because now listen, I grew up living a white person family here and a black person family here and a white person. I grew up, all of us did, in our communities, black and white neighborhood. And we got along, and there wasn't no fighting and fussing and all that going on.
You know, a lot of people don't realize or don't know, back in the 50s, there used to be a Little League baseball team. We had a little black baseball team called the Brown Bummers. And we were the only black team in an all-white league. But we enjoyed ourselves. And we, you know, you're my brother, and you know, the parents are my parents. And that's the way it was when I was growing up. There was no, I hate you or this stuff going on as it is today.
Wow.
And I'm glad to say I was part of that thing back then, and I'm still part of it today. And I'm just thank God that I can share what I know with others.
I can also remember talking to some white people about the 8th of August in the earlier days. They would come, but they wouldn't dance or participate. They stand back and take dance lessons from me. And I've had people actually say that. And there were some white people who would actually come and attend.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you know then, meaning when you were a little bit younger, the reason that people were celebrating the 8th of August?
I didn't.
No.
Well, I didn't either at first.
I didn't either at first.
There's somebody mentioned to me that you were freed. And I could smell it and float in the air. I remember what the emancipation was about.
Okay.
And I have carried that all along with the build up to see what affairs and what they were going to still carry it on, or whether they're going to throw it out the door.
Yeah.
This is something, a day that should be remembered.
Okay.
It meant a lot to me.
Right. Mr. Jean, you had a comment?
Initially, as I said, when we first came here from Western North Carolina, people were celebrating the 8th of August, and we went, why? And they said it was freeing of the slaves. As I said, 8 months after the Emancipation Proclamation, Andrew Johnson did have slaves. In August, 8th of August, he sent word back to his wife here in Greeneville to free their 8 to 10 slaves.
Wow.
That is what we celebrate. It was not an emancipation. Matter of fact, it was called a manumission, where slaves were considered property at that time. And it was a release of your property. It was not a public act, which would have been an emancipation. It was a manumission. So we celebrate that, but what we're celebrating, and that's why we call it Freedom Day instead of Emancipation Day of 8th of August, is the beginning of freedom in Tennessee.
Mr. Richard, did you know what 8th of August was like when you were, what it was about when you were young?
Me, no.
Just fun?
But just freedom from my great-grandparents and my
Okay.
grandparents. Freedom for them.
Right.
Through them, I've learned.
Okay. What is the hope for the next generation of young people in Greeneville? In other words, what is it that you would want them to know, to understand, and to do going forward as it relates to the 8th of August celebrations and any other Black history preservation?
I just hope that the coming generation, or however you put it, will be able to take hold of each other and be together and not think of you being white and me being black. Just be together and have fun and get along with each other. That's what I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's pretty much happening quite a bit here in Greeneville. Now, I don't know about outlying areas, but I think Greeneville's pretty good little old town to live in, and I guess I've always had a good relationship with most people. So some I'm not aware of, some things, but I think that as far as I know, Black and white have gotten along well together here in Greeneville.
So basically, you would hope that that would continue, that
yes,
relationship would
yes,
continue to thrive and develop.
I have as many white friends as I have Black friends. I mean, you know, I have a lot of white friends.
Right.
But they're just friends. I don't consider they're white friends. They're just friends. Like Black friends, they're just friends.
Right.
You know, you don't think about color. If one thing about it, if most people would think that we all got the same kind of blood under this skin, and that skin doesn't mean a thing.
That's right.
It really doesn't. So, well, from my own example, for whatever. I mean, I hate to say that, but that's the way it is. And but I think that, as far as I know, Greeneville's always been pretty good as far as the relationship is concerned. There's always some now, you know, that are crackheads and everything else in all kind of people, whether they're black, white, yellow, gray, or green. There's some good and bad in all of us.
That's right.
So, but I think Greeneville's always been pretty good.
Okay. Miss Annie?
Well, to go forward and hold things together, that what people have worked so hard for, I think you should continue with the youth and the people that are still coming up.
Right.
There still should be harmony. God is love. So just think about who is love. I don't care, in everything God tells you to love.
Yes.
And He made us all. So why are we going to turn into a great big roaring fight when you didn't make yourself? God made man, then He made woman to go with it. So try to work it out in His world. This is not our world. This is God's world.
Amen. So true.
So you try to work it out.
Thank you.
You can always solve a solution if you go at it the right way.
Amen. That's correct. Mr. G?
What I would like to think about young people taken from the 8th of August celebration is it's a very unique and important history. And this history, by the way, is not an open history. It's not the 8th of August. It's not mentioned in our school literature. It's a history that needs to be exposed in the public domain. And it denotes division, the Civil War. And there's a chapter about the Civil War, about emancipation, about slavery that we don't need to forget. Freedom is something that you need to be forever vigilant about.
Correct. Thank you. Mr. Richard?
Well, I would love to see the younger generation get involved in the community, get involved in their churches, which they don't, but I would love to see this. I would love to see them also as Gene said, learn history, not only black history, but world history. Because there's a lot of things out there that even we, the older folks, don't even know. Or some we don't care about, but we should. I know personally, I've shed my blood, I've sweated, I've cried over things that I've seen in my lifetime. Do I tell people about it? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, because it hurt. I spent 3 tours in Vietnam. I've seen things that the average person will never see in their lifetime. I've done things that I've asked God to forgive me for. But the biggest thing is trying to forgive me of things that I have done. But I'm just thankful and I'm blessed that I'm here today.
Right. And finally, last, but maybe most importantly, why is it important that we continue to remember the 8th of August? And how can telling these stories and remembering this history, as you have told today, benefit the next generation of Black people, and actually people of all races?
I would like to see it continued through my children because they don't know what the 8th of August means. I have 2 grandsons. Neither one of them could tell me anything about 8th of August, but I would like to see it be continued to be celebrated, or however you want to make it, through us.
I think the more that we know about the culture of all people, the better off we would be if we understood better all kinds of people, because we're all mixed up here together, folks. There's no denying that.
Miss Annie.
Well, we've come this far with hope, love, and prayer. So let's go forward and learn how we can work this together, because God made everything, one of everything on this earth. If the birds, the ants, if they fought as much as we do over color, you'd be going on, and you'd never reach the end. So we need to reach an end, because the end is coming, and it's not far away. Because if you read your Bible, it's being fulfilled every day. So just read your Bible, and then you know you'll take the right steps.
I sort of went over some things of why I think we should study Black history, especially the history of the 8th of August, but I would like to see, the reason I would like to see it in schools, in our public schools, is that young people need to know this history. And for instance, if we go out and walk down to Town Square shopping center and ask 10 people not of color, what's the 8th of August about? You might get one person say, oh yeah, I've heard about it. So I think we need to have not only our African American youth, but all youth study this history. Let's go back to some of the things I was saying about why we should know our history.
Thank you.
Well, we know about the 4th of July. We know about every other holiday. But it's important that other people know about the 8th of August. What it stands for, how we celebrate the 8th of August. That's the freedom of our people.
I want to thank all of you for being here today. This concludes our discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We love you, we appreciate you, we value, we treasure your recollections of something that is very important and should be remembered by all. Thank you.
Funding for this program has been provided by the Robert and Tony Bader Charitable Foundation and by Viewers like you, thank you.